Online, across England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland.
It's not the BBC, you actually get your facts right.
We are proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Mark White. As GB News Home and Security Editor, I cover those key issues that are so important to you. Our authorities, our communities doing all they can to combat violent crime. With the public services under unbearable strain, why are we still failing to control our borders? Defence, the first priority of any government, has been continually hollowed out. Can we trust our politicians to protect the armed forces? Join me, Mark White, on GB News.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Join me, Arlene Foster, for the briefing on GB News. Every Friday at 3 p.m, I'll give you all the latest political news and analysis, and we'll have robust live debate. To make sure that you're caught up on all of the biggest issues of the day, we'll bring on experts in their field. I'll ask the questions that you'd like to ask. We're not afraid to tackle discussions from all perspectives, including yours. Don't forget, the briefing with me, Arlene Foster, every Friday at 3 p.m. on GB News.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
Monday to Thursday on GB News, it's Bev Turner Today from 10 a.m. There's never been a more interesting but also critical time in British politics, and I can't wait to bring you the biggest stories of the day with the best factual accuracy and also a few of my own opinions thrown in. We'll engage in passionate but always polite debate with your thoughts and opinions at the centre of it all. Monday to Thursday, 10 till 12 on TV, on radio and online.
Good evening, wonderful people. It's 8 p.m, which means one thing and one thing only. It's time for Friday Night Feast. Yes, welcome aboard. Now, the autumn statement may not have lifted everyone's spirits, but we'll do our best to change all of that. It's just an hour for us tonight. We had to pay homage to Nigel Farage, of course we did, but that only means that we have an even more jam-packed show than usual, so strap yourselves in. The government have quietly dropped plans to reduce migration to the UK. I'll be speaking to a pair of Tory MPs about that. Can anyone else sense a revolt coming? I certainly can. And in my big debate, we'll ask if the Chancellor got it right to raise benefits, plus all the usual favourites. Dog of the week, that's right. Surely someone would like to provide a wonderful home to the lovely Barry. Grief. Currently residing in Bosnia, but now looking for a forever home in the UK. We'll also be asking where World Cup fans might be able to get a little bit of a drink in Qatar. And it's great news for GIMP fans. The Somerset GIMP is reportedly under lock and key. That's a shame, but fear not, because the GIMP man of Essex is still very much at large. All of that to come, but first, it's your latest headlines with the wonderful Alice Porter.
I'm Alice Porter in the GB newsroom. Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer has accused the government of locking the country into an economic doom loop. The comments follow the Chancellor's autumn statement yesterday. Meanwhile, the Institute for Fiscal Studies is warning the fall in living standards will be the largest since records began. Jeremy Hunt has defended his plans as the right thing to do, but Sir Keir says the fiscal measures will hurt the most vulnerable.
The government yesterday, having done huge damage to the economy, has gone after working people again with stealth taxes and council tax increases and done nothing about non-dom status, the super rich who are not paying their taxes in this country. and they've got no plan for growth, so they're locking us in a doom loop. We would have put a plan for growth on the table that actually runs towards the challenges of tomorrow.
A person has been swept into the River Don in Aberdeenshire as heavy rain continues to batter much of eastern Scotland. Police and emergency crews are on the scene, where it's believed the person may have been trying to rescue a dog. Rest centres have been opened after flood warnings were escalated to severe. Aberdeenshire councils say river levels will peak later this evening. A sexual predator has admitted to the murder of law graduate Zara Alina, who was brutally kicked and stamped on, then left for dead. Jordan McSweeney also admitted to sexually assaulting Zara Alina as she walked home from a night out in East London last summer. The 35-year-old from Dagenham was found by passers-by with severe head injuries. She later died in hospital. McSweeney had only recently been released from prison and had targeted more than one woman before. Detective Chief Inspector Dave Wellams says the Met Police are committed to tackling violence against women.
Jordan McSweeney has pleaded guilty today to the most serious offences. He is clearly a very dangerous individual, and his guilty plea today means that he is certain to serve a considerable period of time behind bars.
A coroner has ruled that police errors contributed to the deaths of a mother and daughter who were killed by the daughter's estranged partner. An inquest heard how in 2018 Raneem Ouda repeatedly called the police after Janbaz Taran attacked her at a restaurant in Solihull. He followed her and her mother home, but officers failed to reach them in time before they were murdered. The family said Ms Ouda had previously contacted police about her abusive relationship, but little action was taken. West Midlands Police has apologised to the family. Civil servants in the Home Office, Border Force, Department for Transport and DEFRA are to take industrial action in a dispute over pay. The PCS union has been calling for a 10% pay rise for its members, but this was rejected by the government. It's planning 1 month of what it calls sustained industrial action from mid-December, which will affect ports, borders and other areas of transport. TV, online and DAB plus radio, this is GB News. Now it's back to Patrick and the Friday Night Feast.
Welcome back. Let's get stuck straight in. Now, the government has capitulated when it comes to illegal immigration, and it's capitulating over legal immigration as well. It's been revealed that the government no longer wants to reduce net migration. They've tried to bury this in the chaos of the autumn statement, but it's pretty much out there now. We can expect net migration in the region of 205,000 people in 2026. This means the adult population is expected to increase by 400,000 by 2028 and presumably just keep doing that every couple of years. Why? Well, to generate more tax revenue. So, in a bid to make Britain look better on a spreadsheet, the government is willing to change Britain irreversibly and possibly sell out British culture at the same time. The chaos of the autumn statement will make 55% of us worse off, let that sink in, and the average hard-working common man and woman clobbered with higher taxes in the middle of a cost-of-living crisis. And now they're also saying they're happy to have immigration in the hundreds of thousands. Make no mistake, we now have a Conservative government that's announced a Labour budget as well as Tony Blair's immigration system. Huge amounts of legal immigration coupled with massive amounts of illegal immigration means one thing and one thing only. Britain will change irreversibly. And with it, British culture, British values, British norms. Mark my words, backbench Tory MPs are already infuriated by this high-tax, low-growth budget. And now they're also coming to terms with the fact that it appears the government has no intention of reducing net migration either. I spoke to Bury North MP James Daly, who had this to say.
I would completely caution against that. That's not a sensible or pragmatic approach. We've got people, Patrick, at the moment who are not working in this country, who are on benefit, who should be out there. There are jobs for people to have. We should be curing the ills of our economy in terms of upskilling people, investing in our younger people, not turning to the easy option of just bringing in migration. We've got all this talent and all the people at the moment who could be doing something but aren't. That's where we should be looking at policy. Just going for the easy option, which I'm sure the government and the Prime Minister and Chancellor are not, is the wrong option completely.
But perhaps this will be more palatable if the government was getting to grips with illegal immigration in the Channel. But of course, it's not. And on that, Daly went on to say,
we need to be taking dramatic steps to reduce the number of people coming into this country who should not be here. And I don't want to, go back over one of our previous conversations, but there is very clear evidence that thousands upon thousands of people who are coming here should not be let in. They just should not be. They have no right to be in this country, both on the basis of legislation and where they're coming from.
It cannot be argued that Britain isn't a welcoming country. It cannot be argued that we're a racist country. How can a nation with a Prime Minister and Home Secretary who are ethnic minorities presiding over unbelievably high levels of both legal and illegal immigration be considered racist? It simply can't be. It's got nothing to do with racism. It's got everything to do with sheer numbers, resources and preserving our norms and values. Well, joining me now to get more on this is Marco Longhi, another Conservative MP for Dudley North. You heard your fellow MP there from Bury North, all the Norths here. I'm also from the North, so good northern representation in a way. What do you make of this? Because to me, it seemed like they were trying to slip this under the radar a bit. The idea now that wanting to reduce net migration to the tens of thousands, that's just been biffed, hasn't it?
Well, that's what it sounds like, Patrick. And the government, I must tell you, will have an enormous problem on its hands persuading people like me and James and many, many other MPs to try and get this slipped underneath the radar, if that is in fact what they're trying to do. Look, if we want to increase productivity and grow our economy, we need to invest in ourselves. We need to stop importing endlessly cheap labour and take the easy route out. We've always said we've got low productivity in this country. And that's because we haven't invested in skills. We haven't invested in technology. We haven't invested in training. And the cheap alternative has always been, especially being part of the EU, just keep on bringing in cheap labour. So the whole point of having a points-based immigration system was to stop that and train, invest in ourselves.
Well, a lot of people are up in arms about this and about what's going on in the Channel because they are concerned about the potential loss of British culture and the potential changing irreversibly of demographics and everything that goes with that, especially now, though, arguably for the first time, those in rural constituencies, possibly thousands of asylum seekers are going to be sent to rural areas to, quote, level up the demand when it comes to housing them. And I'm keen to get your views. What do you think British culture is? And what are your concerns when it comes to what we might lose?
So, look, there is a lot at stake here, and there's a whole debate around British values and culture. And, if you go to London, it feels like you're almost in a different country in and of itself now. I don't recognise a lot of what Britishness looks like quite often just walking around London. But for me, let's even just focus on the practical side of this, Patrick. In Dudley, I have at every single surgery a queue of people desperate for housing. I have women and children sofa surfing or being put up in bed and breakfasts because they are homeless, because they cannot find a home for themselves. If we are going to import labour, we need to find them more housing and their families when they join them too. Why not upskill our own labour, upskill the people who are at the moment on benefits, who already live in this country, and use them rather than look at this cheap way out?
Just as a final point to you, Marco, are you concerned that there is now no real point to the traditional Conservative Party? We've got high tax, it is pretty much a Labour budget, and we do appear to have a Tony Blair-style immigration system.
Well, that's what it very much feels like, Patrick. And I can tell you now, I am not alone in taking the views that I am. You know, I'm very upset at the situation. The Whip's office know that. And just because other people aren't being as vocal as me, I can tell you now, there are a lot of other Member of Parliament who are. And if it's true, what they are doing about not putting a cap on limit of on net migration, the government will have a very serious problem on their hands.
There we go. OK, well, you heard it here first. Marco, thank you very much. Marco Longhi, the MP, Tory MP for Dudley North. Well, joining me tonight for this hour of mayhem is the broadcaster and life coach, Dr. Pam Spur, and the comedian making his debut on Friday Night Feast, Scott Kapura. Thank you very much, both of you. And I think it lies to what we're saying as well. Quite ironic in a way that neither of you are British.
Well, no, I'm dual nationality.
You're dual nationality?
I'm British and American. I've got both.
You've got both.
Yes.
There you go. All right, well, look, I'll start with you, Dr. Pam. Why not? What do you make of that? People are quite fearful that, quote-unquote, Britishness is going to disappear.
Well, if there's a queue of people looking for housing in Dudley, they only have the last 12 years of the Tory government to blame for that. They have not invested in housing the way they have always said they would. And so it's got nothing to do with immigrants coming over and taking housing. It's got everything to do with the Tories not providing housing. And let's not forget, they expect £7 billion worth of revenue if, as the article that your producer gave me, to derive from the immigration that will be occurring.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some people say that maybe that's a bit of a false economy, though, because obviously then we do have to pay for a lot of these people in terms of public services, etc. But yes, that's one of the reasons why they're doing it. If you're just joining us, it does appear anyway the Conservatives have decided that they're going to scrap this idea of having a net migration in the tens of thousands. I think we can all agree they probably scrapped that psychologically quite a long time ago. And the reason why they want to do it is they think that huge amounts of immigration, legal this is, will increase growth and increase tax. I'll throw over to you, Scott. Do you feel as though maybe Britain's being sold out a little bit to look good on a spreadsheet?
It would be great if it looked good on a spreadsheet for a change. That'd be a nice altercation. But you know what? I'm anxious about all the foreign comics coming over. It really threatens me.
Really?
So many. I think it's because they admire the British sense of humour. If there's one thing that hasn't changed, it's that very clipped, clever sense of humour that a lot of comics want to emulate from other countries. So, oh, there's Australians. Oh, see, Irish would stay home. They do so well. They're so funny. Stay back. You know what I mean? There's too many of them.
You're worried, quite literally worried about people taking your job.
Yeah, I've got a show tonight. I hope it's happening when I get there, especially after being on this. But, you know,
here he is.
The migration numbers have dropped in the UK since 2017 each year. So I don't think there's really a fear. I don't think many British people think that their culture is being diluted. I think what they're concerned with is, like this last person spoke about, is housing and medical care. But then you've mentioned that's true. I mean, whatever government has been in power has had the chance to build. So those are jobs.
I think a lot of people are very, very concerned about the idea that there is a numbers game. There's the illegal immigration that's going on in the Channel at the moment, and now hotels up and down the country, and especially in rural areas. The concern there, Dr. Pam, and I think this is maybe where the traditional British culture argument comes in, is that a lot of rural towns maybe only got a few hundred people in. They might have one big hotel that's predominantly for, you know, rural tourism, and if that gets chock-a-block, well, the local economy in terms of tourism can go. And just in terms of numbers, you know, there's an equal number of asylum seekers potentially in there as there are locals, as it were. That could be a concern.
But that's a hypothesis.
Well, it was going to happen in Linton-on-Ouse. It was going to happen.
What, that nobody was going to go as a tourist to visit it because they'd all heard about some immigration hotel? I just don't believe that. And I believe that there are a lot of these theories around which are basically conspiracy theories. And yes, some rural areas feel they've had more than their share of immigration to those areas. However, we've got to remember what immigration brings with it. All the wonderful foods that we taste, the colourful wear that people have. In America, we are much more of a melting pot than we are here in Britain.
How's that going?
And let's just say the immigrants often just want to embrace American culture. We haven't lost our culture.
And you've hit a good point there, because, Scott, I'll throw it back to you on this. People are worried, I am worried, about the idea now that from some of the countries where people are coming from, things like gay rights, women's rights, etc., are nothing like what we've got here. And some would argue it's backward, potentially. I mean, we've had conversations about Qatar. I mean, if we're importing a lot of people from that part of the world as well, that happens here. We've seen people wanting to set up things like Sharia courts here in the UK. And people do have a concern that maybe integration isn't top of the list for a lot of people.
Qatar is so gay. I went there, and Doha, I'm from San Francisco, but Doha embarrassed me. I was like, OK, boys, back off. It's a culture that doesn't...
It's all that pent up.
Oh, pent up? Hello. Camels flying by. But anyway, you want to ride? And I also think that it's a different culture, because there, if you label yourself as a homosexual, you'll get in trouble. But if you just do what you like, since it's a male-dominated culture, you get away with it. I think when people come here, mostly, as in the US, I think they want to assimilate. I think it's important to them that they do that. I think building a wall like we have in the US is a danger. I think putting a wall up, you don't need when you have the channel, but I think using it as a wall...
we don't, as it turns out.
It'll create nothing but difficulties. I think when your Home Secretary said that there's an invasion, I don't think that's a strategy or a statement or even a logical response. I think what needs to happen is there needs to be some sort of... I mean, for one thing, Albanians are hilarious.
Well, they're not, you know, getting involved in the underground drug trade.
Well,
I mean, I don't think...
Although that can be funny, too.
I don't think...
You're propagating that myth that
it's not
all Albanians are...
No, you see, now I'm going to push back on that massively, because we have had a load of figures released now which do say quite clearly that, for example, Albanians make up the highest proportion of foreign criminals in our jails. We've had a huge amount, something like 2% of the male population in Albania is now over here, and now they're seeing a massive change in tactics, which is to not even try to get picked up by a border force takes place, is to disappear into the underground economy. I mean, the National Crime Agency is even coming out and saying, look, we have got a massive, massive problem when it comes to Albanian drug gangs and criminal gangs.
I wish you'd stop putting them in jail, because I lost my dealer. So I'm going to gain weight.
I've got a feeling there's another one on the way right now, actually, to be fair. But no, but this is the thing, and I think I get what you're saying, absolutely, and I love you very much, Dr. Pam, and we've had a lot of back and forth over the years, but I can't help but feel as though we are being asked to turn a blind eye to what most people, I think, can just see happening.
OK, what I agree with you. I think most immigrants want to assimilate and embrace British culture. What I agree with you is we should not allow a secondary court system like Sharia law to take place in the country.
OK.
Now, I totally agree with that. So it's not like I believe in a free-for-all.
No.
No. The law of our land has to take precedent.
OK.
And I'm very upset that there are some Sharia courts.
OK, look, both of you, thank you very much. Right, OK, we want to hear from you throughout the show, so please get in touch, gbviews@gbnews.uk. Tweet me as well, @GBNews, and if you're very, very lucky, I might just read one or two of them out. But after the break, it's our big debate. Chancellor Jeremy Hunt has decided to increase benefits in line with inflation. Is it the right call? Are people at the lower middle class end, just your average common man and woman on the street out there trying to earn a pound no, are they being clobbered to subsidise people who maybe could work a bit harder? Controversial stuff. Anyway, I'll see you very shortly. But first, let's see what the British public made of all of this.
I feel sorry for the middle class, really. Well, because they pay for absolutely everything.
Yeah.
I also feel really sorry for the poor people who can't afford, you know, what they need to buy and need an increase in their benefits. So it's... I just think this is a necessary concomitant of a society that we have a government that's too big, and we've had this for many decades, and it will not stop until it bursts. That's my opinion.
Okay, and do you think that there's just an argument, last thing I'll let you get going, that it might incentivise people to not work?
Yeah, well, the rewards of work need to be there, don't they?
I think it's that encouraging people for not working has happened a long time ago. It's for some people, it's easier not to work than to actually work.
Do you think rich people should pay more tax?
Yeah, of course, because they earn more, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, because they are able to also pay tax, that's why.
I mean, I don't like that side of things because, I come from a country where you don't get benefits. So I feel like the UK is quite lucky and a lot of people do get that, access to that. Like, I'm happy to pay for people's pensions, 100%.
Why are you more happy to pay for pensions than benefits?
Because I feel like people have worked hard enough to get these pensions. So I've had my grandparents and stuff like that, and they've worked their whole lives to get a pension. So if I can help...
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
The national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello, I'm Simon Evans. Join me on GB News for Headliners at 11 p.m, where I'll be joined by two of the country's top comedians as we take a look at tomorrow's newspapers tonight. If it's a big story, we'll be covering it, I guarantee, but we'll also have some fun along the way. That's GB News Headliners at 11 p.m. We won't put you to sleep, unlike some of the other paper review shows out there. So join us, 11 p.m, 7 nights a week.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, you know.
We're on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and TuneIn apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel.
Join me, Arlene Foster, for the briefing on GB News. Every Friday at 3 p.m, I'll give you all the latest political news and analysis, and we'll have robust live debate. To make sure that you're caught up on all of the biggest issues of the day, we'll bring on experts in their field. I'll ask the questions that you'd like to ask. We're not afraid to tackle discussions from all perspectives, including yours. Don't forget, the briefing with me, Arlene Foster, every Friday at 3 p.m. on GB News.
Hello, I'm Alastair Stewart, and I'd invite you to join me at noon on Saturdays and Sundays for Alastair Stewart and Friends. I've been in this business for over 40 years. Now, here at GB News, I've never been happier. I get to choose the big stories that really interest me. We hear what you have to say, and you hear what I have to say. I really hope you can join me, noon on Saturdays and Sundays.
Welcome back, ladies and gents. Right, so the Chancellor unveiled his autumn statement, and it was mainly all doom and gloom, but he did say he will increase benefits by 10.1% next year. Anti-poverty campaigners expressed relief, while warning that millions still face a very hard winter, but it is huge tax rises for millions, the rest of us, most of us, really, isn't it? 55% of people are now set to be worse off. Should working people who aren't rich, those kind of squishy middle classes, and there's a very wide range of people there. A lot of them, in fact, are, don't want to quote Theresa May too much on this show, just about managing, barely managing, I would say. Is it right that these people are funding benefit rises? And joining me to discuss this right now is two of the channel's favourite debaters. Just one of them, it's Steffi Curran from Punked Against Poverty, and hopefully a little bit later on, TV personality and commentator Ryan Mark Parsons. Evening to Steffi. Yes, great to have you on. Right, well, essentially the floor is just you and me now, but how do you feel about the idea that quite a lot of people now who are just about managing are going to be paying for people to have a big benefits increase?
I mean, it's very, very tough for those people that are working and just earning just above the cut-off point. You know, that's a whole problem in itself. I do believe that benefits need to go up, but I also believe that we need to be looking at who else should be able to get them, because unfortunately there are too many people in work who are still poor and struggling.
Do you think we're at risk of creating a society where the incentive to work has gone?
I mean, I think the incentive to work has gone for a lot of people. The choice to work hasn't gone. But yeah, wages are not enough. I mean, I've helped somebody today who works two jobs. She's a teaching assistant and she has an evening job, and she still needed to use a food bank. To be able to have to work two jobs and still not be able to afford to feed your kids, where is the incentive to work? You know, that there isn't one.
I understand that, and obviously I'm not including your person in this, but do you think some people are just lazy?
I think it's a very, very small minority, and I think it's getting tougher and tougher for them to get away with being lazy, you know, and with these benefits increases, they are looking at doing more work with your work coaches and things like that, so it's going to get even harder for them to get away with it. There will always be a small amount of people that do that. But the reality is 40% of the people that are getting universal credit are in work. They're not sat about on their bums doing nothing. So, you know, we have to look at the stats and see how many of these people are being lazy and how many people are just genuinely struggling in work.
And weed them out, I suppose. How do you feel about the amount of money being spent on, let's say, people coming across the channel, for example? Because if we weren't spending money in some of those areas, presumably we'd have more money for people who are on the breadline or in poverty.
I mean, I think we should always do our role to help people in need, wherever they're from. You know, we're human, we should be humanitarian about our actions. And I think there are far better areas that we can be pulling money from, such as the rich, than taking it away from people in desperate need seeking asylum.
Is that basically the answer, which potentially you've been skirting around for a little while now, which is that you would just absolutely clobber the rich?
I wouldn't say absolutely clobber them. You know, everyone's entitled to earn a good salary, work hard for it.
And then have it ripped away from them by the state.
I mean, at the moment...
No, come on, just be honest, but just own it. Just own it, right? That's it, isn't it? Realistically, you want rampant socialism. OK, just own it.
No, I mean, I'd say I would love to be rich. I wouldn't want to give all my money away if I worked really hard and earned it. But, you know, we're look at the money that's being spent on Downing Street, on wallpaper and things like that. You know, it's not necessarily being spent wisely, the public funds.
All right, Steffi, stay where you are, because I believe better late than never. Commentator and cult personality Ryan Mark Parsons joins me now. Ryan, thank you very much. Great to have you on the show. How do you feel about the fact that you're, I suppose, what would you say, ordinary middle-class man and woman, some of them just about managing, are now having to pay for people's benefits increases?
Well, that's exactly it, Patrick. I feel like there's a reliance. I've said this before on your show when you've invited me on, and I despise this apathy that we are developing in this country. I feel like there is a tendency to be lazy. There's a lot of people that just don't want to work, and they will be up in arms and they will be celebrating the fact that they will be receiving an increase in benefits as of April next year. And I think it's disgusting. I think it's a really reprehensible, terrible attitude to hold. And the fact that we have guests like the one with me now, and many other people, campaigners and activists, preaching for higher benefits, an increase in benefits, a never-ending up rate in the benefits, I think is deplorable. And really, I just ask people to get up, go to work. If you're not earning enough, reconsider what you're doing or work harder. I think it's as simple as that in black and white.
Ryan, I'll just give one more to you, because Steffi had the say initially, and I'll give the final word over to Steffi. Right, do you think that realistically, in this particular day and age, it's as simple as that? You think that there are a lot of people out there who are just scroungers?
Yeah, I think there are too many scroungers. I totally get it. I mean, as the Chancellor put out in the autumn statement, they are going against the CPI measure for inflation, and the benefits will rise directly as a result of whatever the CPI measure at the time, I think in September. So, of course, I understand benefits need to be in line with whatever the price of goods are. But at the same time, there needs to be a limit, and there needs to be a sort of realization that enough is enough. I mean, this is going to sound a bit funny, but I'm going to quote someone who I admire, Molly May, and she said, everyone has 24 hours, the same 24 hours in a day, the same as Beyonce. And I know that sounds far-fetched, but honestly, at the root of what she said, I really do believe in it. People have the same amount of time in the day as I do, as you do, as the other person does, as anyone walking down the street. There's no excuse to rely on the taxpayers' money for your livelihood. I think it's out of order, and that needs to change. And it's a whole mindset revolution that needs to happen in people's minds.
OK, strong stuff, Ryan Mark. I mean, it was definitely well worth you popping up in the end there, because that really was opinionated. Steffi, I'll throw it back to you. There's a lot of people who I get, when we have these kind of discussions in the inbox, gbviews at gbnews.uk, who say, you know what, if people are really struggling for money, we should check. Are they on the fags? Are they on the booze? Is there any way that they could cut back on all of this? How do you make of people who say stuff like that?
Oh, gosh. I mean, I think everybody is entitled to their vices. Obviously, if you're not spending your money wisely and you're not feeding your kids, it's an issue. But, you know, realistically, I think there's a lot of hardworking people out there who are struggling. And what I'd love to see rise more than benefits is actual wages and support for businesses to provide those wages. For me, that would actually be more worthwhile. Okay. Pay people for the jobs they're doing so that they don't need benefits would be massive. But obviously supporting the businesses so they don't collapse under that. But yeah, people just need help right now. What people forget as well with these benefits increases, they actually fell last year So it's not actually going up that much compared to what it was anyway. So people just need support to get through this winter.
But look, both of you, thank you very, very much. Cracking topic, cracking guest. Steffi Curran there from Punked Against Poverty, and the TV personality and commentator, Ryan Mark Parsons. Gosh, lots for you to get stuck into there. Nearly took my breath away, that's for sure. GB Views at gbnews.uk. Make sure you keep those views coming in. Now, we have barely got time to come up for air on this show because we've been squeezed for an hour. Thanks, Nigel, but there we go. So I haven't got time to go to my panel on this topic, but there's plenty more coming your way, including we've got the worst Christmas tree in Merseyside, and I imagine that's a low bar. A war of words has kicked off between two gimps, and it's time, of course, for Round Your Parts.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
We are GB News, and we'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you for bringing us your conversations, for helping our great nation find its voice. We are here for you on radio, television, and online, across England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
It's not the BBC, you actually get your facts right.
We are proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Monday to Thursday on GB News, it's Bev Turner Today from 10 a.m. There's never been a more interesting but also critical time in British politics, and I can't wait to bring you the biggest stories of the day with the best factual accuracy and also a few of my own opinions thrown in. We'll engage in passionate but always polite debate with your thoughts and opinions at the centre of it all. Monday to Thursday, 10 till 12 on TV, on radio and online.
Every Friday and Sunday night from 9, it's Mark Dolan Tonight.
We're on the same page again. There's something good happening.
Let Ian finish. Don't be such a cranky.
That mini budget was the tip of the iceberg.
And on Saturday, my show just got bigger. From 8, it's Mark Dolan's Saturday Night In.
You can't govern a country if you can't speak. Stop talking.
My God, we reached the end. I've never been early in my life. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
We are GB News, right across the nation. You can get us on television, on radio, on digital. We're absolutely everywhere.
Amazing. You see, amazing.
You remind me of me in the European Parliament. But here's the most important bit. We are not part of the mainstream establishment. We think and speak just like you do. We are the People's Channel.
Magnificent. That's really, really thoughtful.
Come and join us on GB News, the People's News Channel.
Welcome back, everybody, to Friday Night Feast. Now it's time for Round Your Parts. I love this bit of the show. We dig deep to find some absolute gems of local news. You've got to love local news. And we start on Merseyside, where St Helens Council have been criticised for displaying what has been dubbed the worst Christmas tree in Britain for the second year in a row, no less. I mean, absolutely shocking. There, good grief. I mean, if you are listening on radio, just imagine a Christmas tree and then imagine the opposite of that. There's the tree in question. You can all see it there. A pretty sorry-looking specimen. I mean, it looks like it's got manic depression. One local said the town will become a laughingstock, while another observed we pay enough council tax to get a Christmas tree. I'll bring my panel in now. Scott, your reaction?
It looks like it's going back in the ground, like it's sinking back and wants to go home, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's in recession.
It's going back to a seedling, because you can't see the wood bit where the branches hang off. I probably looked nice in the woods before they cut it down, then they got home, like a haircut.
Yeah.
The next day it looks terrible. Or like, a partner. They look good in the bar, and then you get them home, it's like, oh, you're bigger than your jeans, aren't you?
Wow.
Much bigger than your jeans.
You spilled over the top. Yes, absolutely. Well, Dr. Pam, what do you make of that? I mean, Christmas, I think we can all agree, for the people of St. Helens, has been ruined.
I hope that's not going to ruin their Christmas. We need to free the tree. We need to give some love, and we need to decorate it beautifully for the people there. I think all the people there should each bring something, their favourite bauble, and put it on the tree.
I mean, it's one way to go about it. That is, because presumably there's been some kind of vetting process where they've had to choose from a smorgasbord of Norwegian trees. Although, we got mugged off in London by Christmas tree. I think it was the Norwegian government. We get a tree from Norway in London, Sadiq Khan does, and that looked thoroughly miserable.
Last year's was terrible.
It was like they hated us, which maybe they do.
Yeah, the Norwegians celebrate a kind of a funny Christmas. It's odd. It's where Santa visits, and he's kind of moody. He's been angry. He's overrun, and then he takes kids with him sometimes. You know that, right? In Norway.
I was not aware.
Yeah, the parents wake up and the kids are gone. And that's just, that's Christmas this year, isn't it? Yeah, so they celebrate it differently there, I guess.
It's very rare that you get what you ask for, isn't it?
Yeah.
OK, right, now, the firm who provided the tree commented, when it's in the forest, trees look great. Oh, come on.
See, I thought so. Well, it's true, isn't it?
There you go. Couldn't see the wood for the trees. Hey, right, OK, next, regular Round Your Parts viewers will know that we have been tracking the activities with more interest, I think it's fair to say, than most of the media outlets. You quite literally won't get this on the BBC. It's the Somerset Gimp, a nefarious character who's been hounding the good people of Somerset in the West Country since 2016. OK, maybe we can blame it on Brexit. I don't know. It is not just us who've been sickened by this reign of terror, though. We have now heard from another Gimp, the Gimp Man of Essex, and he says the Somerset Gimp is giving Gimps a bad name. This Gimp is an altogether more palatable character, which I think is obvious from that picture. He strolls around the streets of Colchester without hurting a fly, and even raises money for the Mid and North East Essex branch of Mind. My people are speaking with his people, and we do hope to have a full-on sit-down with the Gimp next week. Piers Morgan got Cristiano Ronaldo. I've got the Gimp Man of Essex. That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say. So please join us next Friday. But Pam, have you ever seen so many Gimps strolling around in your local area?
Not a lot, but can I just say, the kink community do have rules of etiquette. And I can understand why the Colchester Gimp is upset with the Somerset one, because the Somerset one has been traumatising people.
Oh, he grunts.
Breaking the law. I mean, at night, jumping out and scaring people.
It's not on.
It's not on, so I can understand, because the kink community do not want to have a bad rap.
No, absolutely not.
They want to have a shrink.
Well, how does he raise money? What does he do? What's his shtick? What's his hat trick?
I imagine people probably pay him to go away.
I wonder where they put the cash.
Yes, that's true. I'm going to stick it to him on a hot day.
No, he looks sweet. In San Francisco, we have nude people in the Castro where the gays congregate in their natural habitat. Just nude men strolling about. With a sock puppet in clever areas.
Right.
And that's just their thing. And they raise money, too, for local communities and stuff. People come in, photograph, get signatures, the whole thing. Some people are outraged by it, don't want the children to see it. I like the controversy it creates. I love to see people a bit upset and disturbed by very little, actually.
Well, it depends. If it's hot over there, it might be quite a lot.
Yeah, it's true. It's nice, though, to see that kind of freedom in San Francisco. Like, I like the Gimp. He's shiny and it seems sweet. But it looks kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In the summer months especially.
Not very flattering, the Gimp costume.
Yeah.
No.
Now, I imagine you jump out of a wardrobe in a Gimp costume for your other half?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's what I do after the shows on Fridays. And in fact, I've now been seen in both Somerset and Colchester. So there we go.
Well, we all wear fetish gear, don't we? I mean, you're dressed as someone successful. We all dress as what we'd like to be. Yeah.
Am I? Yeah. This tie came free with this shirt, and I think it shows.
You're doing your best.
But we can just try, can't we? Right, OK, so where am I going now? Next, we're going to Grimsby. So from Gimpsby to Grimsby, the man, the myth, the legend, John Lennon, has been spotted by a Beatles-crazed fan in a pint of beer. Lee told Grimsby Live, I mean, it's uncanny. This is better than Jesus toast, isn't it? We had Elvis in a spot of rising damp, and now we've got John Lennon in the froth of a beer. Lee told the Grimsby Live, when I saw John Lennon's face in my mate's pint, it was a bit spooky. It felt like a sign. maybe a sign that he's had too much to drink, Scott?
Where was John Lennon in that photo? I just didn't. I saw what looked like a spaceman. I didn't. Did John Lennon go to Mars? I don't really. Did this guy go to Mars?
Well, no. I mean, hopefully it was just the beer he was on.
Yeah.
But
this is classic wish fulfillment. He's a John Lennon fan, so he sees John. I'm a Dave Grohl fan. I saw Dave in that beer.
Are you a Dave Grohl fan?
Oh my God, the fuse, yes.
Are you a bit of a rocker?
I've seen that. I'm a rock chick.
Wow.
Heart. I've been a rock chick since I was 13.
Fantastic. Right, OK, well, no messing about tonight, ladies and gents, because we are a bit pressed for time. Thank you very much, Nigel. What a cracking World Cup special that was. Anyway, it's time now for Christie's Courtroom, when I put some big names on trial, and myself and the panel will decide whether or not they are guilty or not guilty of whatever crime I decide. We start in Qatar. Guilty. No, sorry, I got away. We start in Qatar, where organisers have thrown a massive dampener on proceedings ahead of World Cup kick-off on Sunday. In a shocking, not that shocking, U-turn, Qatar have reportedly decided to ban alcohol sales around stadium sites at the tournament. Imagine having to sit through England's inevitable 0-0 draw with Iran on Monday without any alcoholic substance. I'm going to go to my panel on this one. This has been a troubled World Cup build-up already, hasn't it, to say the least. Organisers are now... Are they guilty of ruining the whole thing before it even starts? Dr. Pam, football without beer is just not even football.
Well, yes, they go hand in hand. And, it's like salt and pepper, whatever. No,
Yeah.
no one should be surprised by this. It's in Qatar. It shouldn't be there.
No.
Even the guy who was head and gave it out to Qatar 12 years ago, I can't remember his name.
Sepp Blatter.
Said the other day, we should have done things differently.
Of course we should have done, but he said it from his massive yacht.
He did.
And that was all about... What have you got in that bag, Sepp? It's, it's loads of cash. You can't say that about Sepp Blatter, because he's notoriously litigious and, of course, would never, ever have done anything like that whatsoever.
Alleged.
Right. In your views now, though, do you think that that Qatar has essentially ruined the World Cup? Because they're already charging people, in some cases, like 80 quid. Apparently, 80 quid in some hotels for a pint.
It's amazing that they banned the gays and no one really cared much. And then they banned the beer, like, hold on, you've crossed the line.
Yeah.
Apparently you can get a beer elsewhere in town, everywhere else, where you can get a gay everywhere else. Just not in the... They don't want beers and gays in the stadium, because they know that football fans, after a couple of beers, they're, one lap dance away from being gay themselves. They're trying to cut it at the beginning.
Millwall fans especially.
Yeah, also. Yeah, that's been my experience.
It's just like one big orgy.
Yeah, well, thank God in Qatar has been my experience again for Syrian hairdressers, because if you want a good beer and a good hairdo, just go to... And all the gossip about all the guys in the hotel lobby with all the 14-year-old boys that they've got their hands on their laps. I don't know. What's going on? I don't know. Makes me anxious, but I want to know the details.
OK, so we're saying guilty of...
Different culture, yeah.
Anyway, I think we got there in the end. There we are. Right, OK. OK, all right, well, coming up in the final part of the programme, all the way from Bosnia, it's Dog of the Week. But first, let's see what the good people of Paddington made of my weekly fake news story. I go around, I tell people a fake news story, see if they believe it, and this week, I basically came up with the fictional fake International Men's Month. Let's see what they have to say. What do you feel about International Men's Month? It starts tomorrow.
I feel great about it.
Yeah?
Everybody should be celebrated. Why not?
Just lastly, some of them are saying, well, what was wrong with the 50s? Do you think men have been a bit downtrodden in society? They need a month? Ugh.
I wouldn't say they've been downtrodden in society, but I think it's important if women have a month. I think it's fair for men to have a month as well.
OK. What would you celebrate most about men, if you don't mind me asking?
I mean...
International Men's Month starts tomorrow.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I don't know what it is.
Well, it's a month to celebrate men, because apparently men have been a bit downtrodden in the last few years.
The women run this world, mate. The women make the world go round, I think, definitely, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, mate.
So men do need a month? Just 1 month?
Just 1 month, oh, 100%. Yeah.
Just give us a month.
Just appreciate us, because we do get a good bit of stick, to be fair.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. You've been cancelled. Join the club. Oh, my goodness me. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
We are GB News.
And we'd like to say thank you
To each and every one of you.
for helping our great nation.
Find its voice.
We're absolutely everywhere.
Across England, Scotland,
Wales and Northern Ireland.
On TV.
On radio and online.
we're proud to be
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
On the Mark Steyn Show, we cover the stories a lot of people are scared even to mention. The stuff that really matters with some of the world's biggest thinkers.
Now is his opportunity to kind of take the steering wheel of history.
Break away from the flop at 8 o'clock on GB News with the Mark Steyn Show.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Dubes & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Mark Steyn. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners. On TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Dubes & Kerr. Me and my panel will get stuck right into the day's events and I can tell you, in fact, I can warn you, expect some robust debates, some strong opinions and perspectives from both sides of the fence. It's about you at home as well. I love to read out all of your comments, or at least as many as I can. So join me, Michelle Dewberry, Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on Dubes & Kerr.
I'm Mark White. As GB News Home and Security Editor, I cover those key issues that are so important to you. Our authorities, our communities doing all they can to combat violent crime. With the public services under unbearable strain, why are we still failing to control our borders? Defence, the first priority of any government, has been continually hollowed out. Can we trust our politicians to protect the armed forces? Join me, Mark White, on GB News.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, you know.
We're on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and TuneIn apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel. Welcome back, everybody. It's time now for Dog of the Week. If only you could hear what we talk about in the breaks. It's a very special edition of Dog of the Week this week. We are looking for a forever home for Barry, who currently lives at the DNV Rescue Dog Home in Bosnia. Let's take a look at the wonderful Barry. See, now Barry's an amazing dog who was found lying in the road with 3 broken legs, multiple injuries. I know. But Vera, who owns the shelter, would not give up on Barry, and funds were raised so Barry could have a series of life-saving operations and rehabilitation in a hydrotherapy pool, no less. Barry now lives at the DNV Dog Rescue Centre in Bosnia, but he's looking for his forever home right here in the UK. And as you can see, Barry is now doing very well. Look at that little guy go. In fact, he's not so little. He's now fit to travel to the United Kingdom, so let's find him a home in the UK to fly over to. I'm delighted to welcome Lindsay Mills, a volunteer at the DNV Dog Rescue. Good evening, Lindsay. I believe you're there. Yes! Hello, Lindsay. Fantastic. Now, Lindsay, just tell me a little bit about Barry.
Oh, poor Barry. He was found in the road with multiple injuries, 3 broken legs, screaming in pain, and our lovely Vera rescued him, took him back to her shelter in Bosnia, and then found a series of vets who could possibly help him.
Okay.
We had 2 vets.
Just while you're talking, Lindsay, as much as I love your face, Lindsay, it might be nice if we get a few pictures of Barry up whilst Lindsay's describing what he's been through as well. So, Lindsay, go on, carry on. So he had a lot of recovery to do, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He had a series of operations. There was 10 in total. We had to use a vet and a super vet because his injuries were quite complex. It took a series of very painful operations and a lot of rehabilitation by the dedicated Vera and her helpers and family in Bosnia. We raised in the UK through our volunteers sponsorship and donations to help pay for all the veterinary service and also for his hydrotherapy pool. And now we're obviously looking for a beautiful home, forever home for him.
We are indeed. Now, just describe his character a little bit for me, because I understand he might have even... Is it been cat trained? Is that right?
He's actually been cat tested by Vera, who actually saves cats as well as all the dogs. And beautiful Barry, he's so good. He's so good with cats. He's one of the ones who loves all the puppies in the shelter. And he has incredible friends, including Bear, who was one of his best friends, who's now been adopted.
Well, that's absolutely wonderful. And if people want to get in touch now and bring Barry over, give Barry a wonderful forever home. He's been through enough. Let's get him over here to the UK and curled up in front of a fire in time for Christmas. How do they get in touch with you?
Get in touch with us on dnvsaveanimals.com or Facebook, Instagram or Twitter.
OK, now, just quickly, I believe that it's quite a special day at the old DMV Save Animals shelter, because Vera, who is... How would you describe Vera? Is it your leader?
Vera she's our wonderful founder, owner. She's a real earth angel. She's saved over 700 dogs since 2015.
Right. Well, happy birthday, Vera, who, of course, turns 21 today. So, Vera, fantastic, well done. And I think we can all agree that fantastic work, saving, as you said, over 700 dogs and cats. Sounds like a wonderful person. Thank you very, very much to yourself as well. And hopefully, we can get Barry at home. Make sure you stay in touch with us, because fingers crossed we can deliver some good news, or maybe as soon as next week. Round of applause. There we go. Hey, fantastic. Well done. That was, of course, ladies and gentlemen, Dog of the Week. Dr. Pam, have you got a heart? Get Barry at home.
Baz, I want him.
Bazza.
I want Basil, yeah.
Yeah.
Why is he coming back to Britain, though, if he's in Bosnia?
Well, look, it's a bit right-wing of you to say that, to be honest with you. You know... Oh, sorry, everyone, if you're offended by that. Pam's gone all far right. We've got dogs of our own here, have we, Pam? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah?
British dogs.
British dogs. British homes, right, for British dogs, all right? Yeah. Scott, your views. Are you more of a cat man?
No, I grew up with parrots and stuff. I like dogs. There's just a lot of...
just going to have to stop you there.
Yeah.
You grew up with parrots?
Yeah, my mother had a parrot obsession. We had a lot of birds in the house. A lot.
Really?
Yeah, a lot. It was a lot. A lot
ironical?
No, they're actually great company, but they take a lot of time, and they're quite violent when they're angry.
And they get jealous.
They do, very jealous.
Parrots too. This is so weird.
So a dog would be easy, actually. I'd take Barry, but can he run?
Barry can run now. Barry, because it all happened to him when he was so young. Now, Barry's fighting fit, so he can actually... Yeah, he's great. He's great.
All right.
Now, I'm being shouted at because this show has, of course, been condensed. Thank you yet again, Nigel, for a wonderful World Cup special. No, but seriously, it was a great show. You can catch it online. Has anyone got a taxi for Christie's?
Taxi for Christie's.
Still remarkably light out there, isn't it, given the time that we're on? But this was the week where Keir Starmer admitted to the worst crime possible for a Labour politician. Yes, Sir Keir has kissed a Tory. And, of course, when he works out who the woman is, we'll be in business. There we are. This was also the week when, with the World Cup looming, Caversham United Football Club, massive club, big club, huge club, lined up for a huge match in the Reading and District Sunday League, only for the match to be delayed because the referee had overslept. Good, proper Sunday League stuff. And this was also the week when a daughter wondered what to get her father as he turned 100. And solved the dilemma by taking him to a strip club. Good girl, well done. Right, thank you very, very much, everybody who's been tuning in. Mark Dolan joins me next. Thank you to my wonderful panel as well. It's great to have you both on the show. Yes, Dr. Pam, of course, Scott, as well, making your debut.
It's been amazing.
Yeah, the Earth moved. The Earth moved. Right, now, stay tuned, everybody, because the wonderful Mark Dolan will be hot-footing into the studio. Thank you for a shorter edition of Friday Night Feast. Love you all. Have a great weekend.
Hello there, I'm Greg Dewhurst and welcome to your latest broadcast from the Met Office. Frosty for some western areas tonight, further rain expected in the far west and east on Saturday and blustery showers on Sunday. Low pressure still dominates initially, however a weak ridge of high pressure for a time as we go into Saturday before low pressure returns from the Atlantic for the rest of the weekend and into the beginning of next week. So the changeable theme continues. Further rain across parts of Scotland in particular through Friday evening into the early hours of Saturday. The risk of some further flooding here. Driest conditions across the far west, turning chilly during the early hours, -3 or -4 across the countryside in Northern Ireland. Some mist and fog patches developing, not quite as cold elsewhere, generally around 6 or 7 Celsius. But a cloudy, damp start to the day across eastern parts of Scotland, down the east coast of England. This slowly pushing a little bit further inland as the morning progresses. Best of the sunshine across central and western areas initially, but through the afternoon a band of rain will start to move in across Northern Ireland, turning heavy by later on in the day. Temperature-wise, generally around average, a little bit lower, particularly under the cloud across the far east compared to Friday, 8 or 9, perhaps in the sunshine 10 or 11. Through the evening time on Saturday, this band of rain will push its way eastward, some heavy bursts possible at times, the winds picking up, falling as snow over the higher ground across Scotland too. And during the early hours behind the band of rain, we'll see some scattered showers moving in. Fairly blustery night, so it will stop temperatures getting too low, 5 or 6 Celsius for many of us. Into Sunday morning, it means a wet start once more across eastern areas. Snow continues over the higher ground of Scotland. The rain pushes its way eastward. Sunshine follows, but also a scattering of showers. Showers most frequent and heaviest across the north and the west. Perhaps some hail and thunder in there, and a little bit wintry over the higher ground too. Into the beginning of next week, temperatures remain around average for the time of year, and we expect further wet weather at times. See you again soon.
We are GB News, and we'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you for bringing us your conversations, for helping our great nation find its voice. We are here for you on radio, television, and online, across England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
It's not the BBC, you actually get your facts right.
We are proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Mark White. As GB News Home and Security Editor, I cover those key issues that are so important to you. Our authorities, our communities doing all they can to combat violent crime.